Joining me to discuss a study that was executed by Dalhousie University is Dr. Sylvain Charlebois. How's it going, Dr. Charlebois?
Very good, Sean. How are you?
I'm doing good. I heard that you were out west last week talking to my beef friends at the Alberta Beef Industry Conference.
I know. I actually thought you were going to be there, and it was a great conference. Lots of energy, and I was just speaking right before my former premier, Brad Wall, so that was exciting.
That's a tough act to follow. You had to follow.
Me, so that was a good thing.
Oh, he was following you. Okay, well that's all the better.
Well, we had a great time over in Red Deer. It's always great to meet with beef producers, and in fact, actually this winter I did the Prairie Trifecta, Brandon, Regina, and I was finishing the prairies with Red Deer last week.
What was your message to the beef producers? Because I know I've heard you say before the beef industry needs to change, should be thinking more about being beef should think more about being a complementary dish to pulses. Is that the same message? And if so, how are those thoughts received by that group?
Well, I felt, Alberta understands business, and in business you always have to look for opportunities. And I left the conference with the impression that they are listening, they are changing. In fact, when you look at new beef ads, you can really clearly see that the tone has changed, and it's not just about telling Canadians to eat more beef, but it's about understanding that beef is very much part of a much larger portfolio of ingredients, and so they're really trying to understand the consumer, which really is a good thing for the industry. And of course, we did talk about trades, exports, lots of opportunities there as well.
Great stuff. Okay, let's talk about this study, the Canadian Food Guide. When it came out, there was lots of discussion, and I think even you and I had this very one that there's some elitism to this food guide, that food is going to get more expensive for Canadian consumers. What did your study find?
Well, based on a lot of discussions we had in January, and I think that was the last time we spoke, you and I, it was about the food guide, and at the time we were wondering, well, who the hell actually follows the food guide first thing, and do people care? And so we wanted to answer that question. And the other question, of course, is the new food guide is it more expensive than the old one? Will this food guide, the new one, make families less food secure? So we actually were able to get an answer for both questions.
Okay, so let's go through that, because I saw here it says 91% of Canadians are aware of the food guide. 74% said they realized the government of Canada had recently published a new version, but how does it relate to affordability?
So in terms of affordability, it seems to be the number one perceived barrier by Canadians. So we actually did ask Canadians what prevents you from following the food guide. So affordability was one. Fit with dietary practices was another one, and the third one was time. I mean, you saw the message, Sean. It's about cooking. It's about cooking every day, all the time, and so processed foods are out. And it's all about doing your own processing at home, and it's great. But in an ideal world, it would work. But with life. We have hockey. We have all sorts of things going on in our lives. We have illnesses. We travel, and so it's very difficult for anyone to follow a perfect lifestyle and a perfect diet. And so it's a bit utopic to believe that Canadians will actually follow the food guide to a T. However, we did actually calculate whether or not this darn new food guide is more expensive, and we actually realized that if you are to follow the new food guide as a family of four, you would save $1.98 a day versus the old one.
You would save?
Yeah, so you would actually save, but here's the kicker. First of all, you have to cook all your meals. Second of all, you can't waste anything. And with this new plate presented by Health Canada, half of it are vegetables and fruits. And this is the one thing we waste the most at home, fruits and vegetables. So, again, we didn't actually take into consideration food waste. The other thing that we figured out at Dalhousie with Guelph is that over time, you're likely to see the new guide become more expensive than the old one as a result of what would happen to fruit and vegetable prices. By 2022, we could see fruit and vegetable prices go up because we are expecting the dollar to soften a little bit, the value of the dollar to soften a little bit against the greenback. We import a lot of fruits and vegetables where we remain highly vulnerable. And so that's why we are expecting that food basket presented by Health Canada to become more expensive versus the old one. So it's not. So we are going to save some money for now, but it's not going to last.
Okay, so one of the, I had it last week. We were on the road with our Tech Tour Live series. We did the radio show live in front of the audience, and so we took questions, and the food guy came up, I think, pretty much every day, and the same question comes from farmers. Who, like, why do we care about this? And I think a lot of it I say it's not about opening the fridge and trying to figure out, okay, here's what I got to eat today. I got to follow this, this process and these recommendations. It's deeper than that. It's more about funding and innovation and schools and like the institutional stuff. That's really where the impact is.
Yeah, I agree. I think I remember the last time we spoke, I was away from meeting with the Minister of Health, and I did meet her. We even had breakfast the next morning in Montreal, and I did talk to her about food security. You cannot, and I did tell her, you cannot present a food guide to Canadians without knowing whether or not you are making them more or less food secure. You gotta do the exercise, and clearly, Health Canada did not. And the reason why it's so important is that you want an agriculture that reflects a little bit, at least, the food guide. And so if it doesn't, and a lot of people, I think, based on a lot of discussions I've had with people, it doesn't reflect Canada. It doesn't reflect, it's very urban. And that's why I think we need to look at our food strategy. And today we're tabling, I'm just watching the federal budget right now as I'm speaking to you. We're getting more money for a food policy in Canada, a food strategy, and hopefully that food strategy will help agriculture across the country and make sure that Canadians are well supported.
Yeah. Well, we have maple syrup harvest on, so that's not exactly a recommendation in the guide, and it doesn't get any more Canadian than that.
Absolutely. Yeah. You want maple syrup, but you also want fruits and vegetables. I'm certainly concerned right now with canola, with what's going on with Asia and with pulses, and God knows what's going to happen with the African swine flu.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we're not going to get a case, but my goodness, we need the support. We need help. We want to make sure that agriculture will support it. And I think they're throwing $134 million towards a food strategy, which is nowhere near what it should be.
Okay, quickly, I think the result of this is going to terrify me, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. Where are Canadians getting their information on nutrition?
Oh, my God. Yeah. You saw the results?
I'm looking at them now. I don't even want to ask about it, but go ahead.
So farmers weren't on the list, but the number one answer was family and friends, which really is not overly shocking. But what is shocking is that the Canadian Food Guide ranks 6th after social media, general research, cookbooks, documentaries, and for certain demographics, actually, the younger demographics, celebrities come before the food guide.
Oh, no.
Gwyneth Paltrow has more to say about nutrition than the food guide. Imagine.
Yeah. Her and her goop. This is the concern.
What's worse is that nutritionists and dietitians actually rank lower than the food guide. And they're the experts. It reminds me of how farmers are listened to when it comes to, say, glyphosate and genetically modified crops and things like that. Farmers are the experts, but they're not listened to. They're trusted, but nobody's listening to them.
If
Same
you're
thing
getting
for nutritionists and dietitians.
Yeah, if you're getting your nutritional information from, somebody you follow on Instagram that's in a movie. You just stop. It's
someone slapped that. It's just not serious, and this is the world we live in, and I think it's a good lesson for farmers out there trying to engage with the public. I mean, seriously, if it's harder and harder to advocate for yourself, regardless of your profession, because of social media.
Some people would say that we need to fight fire with fire. We need to get some celebrities on more of the agricultural side to have be our influencers, but a little less.
I'm not sure if I want Gwyneth Paltrow to start talking about canola and crops.
No, please not. No,
it wouldn't work for me. But what would work for the people, I think, are partnerships, and that was the message I gave last week in Red Deer. Is that if you partner with the universities, partner with NGOs. Other groups are doing it with us at Dow and with Guelph, why not farmers?
Dr. Charlebois, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon.
My pleasure. Take care.